Hi there, I hope you're all doing well. I thought it was time to show you what I've been up to in my 2025-2026 Common Planner by Starling Ink. So I'll show you how I've set it up and also how I'm using it, because I've been using it consistently now for 2 weeks. We're currently mid-July, so let's have a peek. So the first page is blank. This is like the hard, like cardboard cover, but I do have an intention with this. This is going to be basically like a style guide for both my brands. So it's going to have like my hex codes, my color codes, my fonts, all the different bits and bobs that make up my brand on each of these pages. So this will actually get utilized. And then we go straight into the vision or intentions, which I wrote on the 9th of June. And it's basically just what my intention is with this book, in keeping all my work stuff away from my normal Hobonichi and my memory keeping. So that's the intention, was to keep it all away, but also to help plan out my work better. So then the next layouts is the year at a glance, both 2025 and 2026. The only thing I'm currently using this for is to show when my respite days are, well, weeks in my case, or almost a month. My deadlines that I know I've got coming up, as well as launch dates. And then I'm also testing out some border ideas for some stickers. And also I'm crossing off the months as they go, but where I'm still able to see the dates just in case I need to refer back. Then there was a blank page, 2 blank grid pages, which I filled with my creative manifesto, which is basically I've just put in some bullet points to remind myself why I'm doing this, why I love doing this, things for when I'm feeling a bit lost in a bit sort of like not really getting to the crux of what I want to produce. I can then refer back to this and go, okay. And it's just gentle reminders, but it's just nice to have it written down rather than in my head all the time, because it does get a little bit jumbled and a little bit lost, because I was recently working on the April sticker sheets and I was putting like flowers and things in it, and I'm like, why am I doing flowers? That's not what I wanted to do. So I've had to sort of remind myself we're not going down that route. So yeah, it's just strange how my mind works sometimes. These stickers that I've used, by the way, are by Izobrova from Poland, and it's the drawing set. I haven't really used anybody else's stickers in here except for these. I just really like the colours and obviously the creative stickers. So the next page is goal breakdowns. So these are 6 goals that I kind of want to focus on over the next year or so. And then they're then broken down to someday, 1 year, half year, quarterly, monthly, weekly and daily. So I've sort of sat and had a good sort of thought to myself about what I want to produce and work out how to hopefully achieve those goals. And again, I've just added some colour just to break it all up. Now this page is probably gonna make you guys scream because it does look like an absolute mess, but I understand it. And it's basically, I've time blocked myself over the months, sort of like in a Gantt chart, sort of, in a way. This is the yearly tracker, by the way, but I'm using it as to try and work out, right, I need to be working on this in order to achieve that. So that's how I broke that up. And then it moves on to the quarterly pages, and obviously with this starting in July, it starts from quarter 3 rather than quarter 1. So you've got priorities here, which is what I'm focusing on and something that I want to upskill myself. I want to focus on that. Then obviously some focuses for July, and then you've got space for August and September. The way that I've then split this up is this top section is going to be what I've done each month with what I've achieved in terms of upskilling. So maybe I've learned a new software, or I've learned graphics in a different way. That's what I'm going to put up there. And then here is basically the same as what I was doing in my Hobonichi, which ties into my weeklies of tracking how many hours I work each day. It's just in a slightly different format because I do like these sort of like staggered lines rather than just these dots. So I basically transferred that into that. So it'd be nice to see the overview over the quarter of how I've worked. Then I'm going to write a little sort of note section, a little post-mortem of how the month went. Did I achieve what I wanted to and all that sort of stuff? So that's how those are going to look. So then we've got those for the other quarters. Then we had a spare monthly page for June, which I wasn't going to use. So I've decided to split it up into the different months. And I'm going to use these as like little collage sections for what I want my stickers to look like for each month. And then the colours, and just have a good overview of what it's going to look like. Then we move on to my monthly pages, which are very intentional not to be like, oh, you have an appointment here, you have an appointment there. They're not about that. It is literally purely planning. So I will sit at the end of each month and write down what I want to achieve on that day, different tasks, whether I've got to film, whether I've got to edit, or this, that, and the other. And I'm gonna, this big X is basically it's been cancelled for whatever reason, either the project failed or this, that, and the other. And then I'm gonna cross off bits that I've actually done as well. And then obviously I've got a docket here, which is to-do list. I just love the word docket, so I love using that one so much. And then I'm using some different symbols as well that I've got on all the different stencils that I've got, just to make it not so texty, even though it kind of is, but it does break it up a little bit. I've then also got something here that I call the monthly echo, which is basically kind of like what's going to migrate into the next coming months, or some ideas that have developed because of what I've achieved that month that I might want to then develop further in other months coming. Again, I've put blocked off the line here because I want to try and keep the weekends free from work. So these might be blank, and I might actually start and do something else with those. I might sort of, when I've started doing my stickers, I might be able to then, put some there as well. And just to make it a bit more visually pleasing. That's how August is looking so far, so not much else. So aside from the stickers that I used here, all the other stickers you see, these tabs, these little nookies, and some other undated stickers I've got further on are all what I've designed so far. So yeah, we've got all of the months all the way till next July. And then it goes straight into the weeklies. So again, the weeklies that I've got in the Hobonichi are kind of set up in a similar way, which is basically I write down what I'm doing, how long it takes me, and then a few other little bits. But again, I needed to get a bit more concise with it and a bit more detailed. So on the top, there's a little bit of space, and also I'm not going to be working at 4 a.m. in the morning. I might just be waking up on some days. So I like to put like the focus or what I need to get done that day on there. And then I'll time block like uploaded, working on the B5 book, and then how many hours. But I'm also trying to write down more detailed of what I'm actually doing, so it doesn't look like I'm just working on one project all the time and not splitting up the different tasks for what it is. Then I've got this little sunshine here to basically say what time I woke up, and then these dots in this little Gantt chart is basically my energy levels. So like I've got non-productive, stressing, overwhelmed, distracted, slow but productive, focused, inspired, hyper-focused, and full of beans. So when it's peaking up here, I'm full of beans or highly focused, but when it's dipping, I'm not doing anything. So I want to be able to see sort of like patterns that evolve, particularly around certain things that are going on in my life. I've also put when I go to sleep basically, and then I work out each hour for the day and then touch it up here. And then another docket list that's obviously broken down more than what the monthly one is. But again, I don't really want to work on the weekends, even though it's not really working out at the moment. But I basically want to use this for notes or tasks that I need to slip in, or just little bits and bobs I need to take a note of without it getting lost in the daily pages. So then that's another weekly one. So I'm just basically using the same sort of 5-6 colours throughout the book, and then just using them willy-nilly. There is a little bit of logic to it when it comes to the index, but I really like this colour in the brown together. So yeah, that just continues on all the way till July 5th next year, and then it goes into the blank grid pages. And the first one I've used is for these project logs. So what it is, I'm going to give each project I'm working on a code, and then a title and description, when I started it, and then the end date. The reason why my projects need a code is because I'll refer to them in my daily-ish pages, which I'll talk about in a second. Or they might be digital files that have got the code on them that refer to whatever project I'm working on. So yeah. So then the next page, I've basically printed off the Summer Falls illustration I did for the cover of my Hobonichi. So spoiler alert, because I've not released my Hobonichi video yet. My second year setup, so a little bit of a spoiler alert there. And these is basically just to signify that these are my daily-ish pages. So they're all blank notebook pages like this. They're numbered as well. They come like that. And then in here it's going to basically have my work in progress, archive. So when I finish work, I can sort of stick an image in there and discuss what I liked, what I want to do better, my methods, my research, materials, my inspirations, project records, and experiments. So these look a little bit like this, which is what I was doing in the Hobonichi, but I was using, as you can see, for this one project record, 4 and a bit pages, I've used a B5 size paper. So in the Hobonichi, it would have been like 8 pages. So that's one of the main reasons why I needed to split up my books. So project record is, the first one was basically me just sort of confirming where I currently am with what I'm creating, and what I'm intending to do. And I'll continue doing those just for reference for myself, to help myself keep grounded and not get too ahead of myself and all over the place. Another little progress log here about editing, particularly the backlog that I've got. And then here we have the inspiration. So on the margins, I've basically set it up like a commonplace book. I've got a little colour symbol here, which will go into the index, which I'll get to in a moment. So then this one's an inspiration. So it's basically an article that I've printed out, stuck in, and then I've drawn or highlighted things over the top and then made notes and some things, because this is a lovely illustrator that is producing something that I would also like to produce sometime in the future as well. So it's very much inspiring to me. So yeah, I literally just printed the page, because this magazine that I got it from, Daphne's Diary, I think it is. I've got the source written somewhere. Somewhere I have it. Yeah, the source, Daphne's Diary, May's edition. I've only got like digital versions of it, so it's quite easy for me to just basically take a print from it and then stick it in the book and then write my notes. Because this was the idea for my workbook, was to keep all of my research notes, all of different bits of inspirations, my where I am with things, work in progress, was to keep it all in one place. Whereas before, I'll still have a digital version as well that I use Millernote for, but that's mainly for stuff that I'm screen grabbing and this, that and the other. but before it was crossed between sketchbooks, Hobonichi, random notebooks, random scraps of paper, bits on Digital Life, whereas now I want it all in here. So hopefully this is going to be a thick, chunky book of projects and crazy ideas and failed experiments and all that sort of stuff. There's only one failed experiment in here as well. I think, yeah, I talk about there with the Faber-Castells, which we will not go back into. So yeah, this is how I basically just set up the blank pages, is just draw a line with a Copic multiliner. I do use the 0.5 just to make it a bit thicker, and I just use 6 grids width. I was going to use the whole 11 ones, which Starling Ink have dotted out on the pages, but I felt let's just see how we go with 6, and I quite like it so far. It might change as we go on, but we'll see. And then the final, the second to last final setup is the actual index. So this is like the last page of the book, the last gridded page, and then I'll work that way in, so then I'm not going to get lost with how many pages I need or whatnot. So here I'm just going to write down the page numbers, the description and the colour code for whatever it is. So I've got 2 project records and an inspiration so far. I've also left an area to put project codes. Obviously some stuff's not going to have a project code because it's like me just talking about what I'm doing. So I'll just put an X for those. But then there's ones that might have a project code at a later date, so I'll put a question mark for them. And then obviously if it does have a project code, I'll put that there as well. So when that fills up, I'll move to that page and so on and so forth until basically everything meets in the middle. Well, not in the middle. Hopefully this will only be about 4 pages and then the rest will be all my work. I do have a couple of blank pages here which I could potentially do something with. I don't know what yet, but if anybody's got any suggestions for me now that you're seeing how I'm using the book, that will be greatly appreciated. But then the back page, I've basically just stuck a giant Nucky sticker with brain drain on, and I'll stick post-it notes, bits and bobs of paper, or even scribble on this as well, of different notes or things I need to pay attention to, or this, that and the other. It's just a good place for me to throw all the little bits that might get lost on my desk or whatnot. And then that is literally it, which seems a lot quicker than setting it up, which it was. But I am very pleased with how I'm using this in the setup. It's more simplified, I think, than what I was doing in the Hobonichi. I think I was making it, like for the weeklies, for example, I was drawing boxes and this, that and the other to separate it. And to be honest with you, aside from that box and a bit of colour coding, but I don't just sit there and do it, I do it as I go. So there's not really much to set up. There's a couple of stickers, but that's easy peasy. So yeah, much more simplified my workflow in that sense, and then I just go in and write whenever I need to, or want to save images or this, that and the other. So it's really, really helping me in work, keeping me sort of on track for what I want to do. But the thing is, I'd really love to know what you guys do with your B5. I know I've already had some comments from some lovely people that have told me how they use theirs. But let me know in the comments if this has helped you to think, oh, I could do a workbook. And if you are going to do a workbook, is it for a creative project or is it for your actual career? I'd love to know. I love being nosy about you lot, because I'd love to know who's watching, and you know, if you're just watching because you just enjoy planner content, let me know. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this useful. Bye for now.